We are continuing our season where we're looking at, or I guess our series where we're looking at SQL, particularly MySQL and MariaDB, and how we can improve our SQL skills. This episode, we're going to continue digging into some of the insert type things, creation, and just sort of managing our tables and such. Well, the first thing we want to do is use like an alias. The best way to do this, I'm going to have to show you, is we're going to use an alias. And so if you look at some of our prior queries, like select star from tutorial parent, we get a record set. But we can also do, let's give it an alias, and we can either do it with a space and then the name, and then we can do tp.star. Whoops. And we're going to get the same set, or we can do as to give ourselves an alias. We get the same thing. Now let's look at, if you look at the selection here, you'll see that we've got some default header things, and we can actually change those around. So instead of that, we can use select, let's do t parent id, comma, t1 id, comma, username, comma, email, comma, start year from tutorial parent. And whoops, we're going to keep him as we did. Use that little alias. Now, since we don't have anything, we don't have any conflicts here, we're okay. We don't need to do a TP dot in front of each of those. But for clarity, that would be something we'd want to do. And I'm about to change this over because this is a little slow on the editing. So let's play with this in our editor. Whoops. Come here and do that. Okay, so now you can see that now, our names are the same, but now what I can do is I can say this is going to be, I'll do as PID, as T1 ID, as name, as mail, as start. Whoops. And now we will see that here we just reset our columns. Now this becomes very important whenever we're doing, whenever we're dealing with programming language and pulling stuff out, because inevitably we're going to have, this is our result set, this thing right here. And when we pull values out, it often is going to be by name, by column name. So we would want to pull, mail, that column name. We'd have to get that value in order to bring it across. If it's something that's very complicated, for example, tparent ID, then there can be a problem with that. And that becomes a little bit of an issue even with some complex queries. So let's take a look at one of those where we do one of our prior joins. And let's dig around a little bit and take, I think from, let's see if we've got one. Nope. I'm going to grab one just to save some time. He doesn't have one. Here we go. Oh, here we go. Okay. And so we ran into this before, where we were specifically stating values that we wanted out of each of these. Now, if we have one that is unique, let's go back and pull this query real quick. So if we look at this query, then it comes up, it gives us a username, email, login, address name, city, state, zip. But now if we have, unfortunately, here we go. So for example, we have this type ID exists twice. So we could do, so if we said, I just want the type ID, then we're going to get, whoops. Oh, I did. We're going to get an error, and it's going to say that column's ambiguous because it says, hey, that exists in both the LT and the T1 table. But now if I come in and I do T1, then I can say that this, whoops, this is the one I wanted. So now it says that type ID. And it doesn't tell me what the table is. Note that even though I'm directing it from various tables, it's just going to give me it. The column name is without the table prefix. And technically we could always do this. When we do this, like select star, whoops, if we do a select star from tutorial parent, we could also do select tutorial parent dot star. Sometimes that's easier to read. Oops, I should use a semicolon. Sometimes it's easier to read, sometimes not, particularly if you have a long name. Now, I think I'll start. The next one I'll jump into is creating a table from a table. And in so doing, we're going to, let's see, show tables. So I'm going to go ahead, because we've done this for a while, I'm going to change these names. I want to change the name of tutorial 1, which looks like this. And basically what I want to do is say, you know what, this is going to be an address. So I'm going to do create table address as select star from tutorial 1. And when I do so, I can do describe address. Oh, let me do show tables real quick first. I should probably learn how to type better. So I do show tables, and I don't have a typo. We can see now I have this address. Now if you look at it, let's look at tutorial 1 where I created it. And then let's look at address. And you can see here that the big difference is we don't have an auto increment. We don't have that constraint. Those don't necessarily come across. And here we go. Same thing with, so we have that primary key. It's not set. And the foreign key relationship, that's not set. So we would have to actually go in and do an alter table address, alter column T1 ID, and I want him to be, let me just steal some text from like probably here. Nope. And let's just do him as like this, and I think I can alter table 1. Let's try that. Nope. Oh, I wonder if it needs, may need this. Oh, it's not alter column. Is it? I'm going to play for a second. Nope. Okay, so it is a column. All right, so let's not mess with that right now, simply because, but it is easier to do alter column. Actually, oh. Sorry, it should be column. That's probably it. Nope, still not it. But I do want to use, I'm going to go in and set as I did probably somewhere. Do I have an example of it? I do not. Oh, here we go. Here we go. So I can do a constraint, and then he's going to be, this will be address PK. It's going to be, I'm going to call it primary key. Let me go steal that little thing from probably day 4. Whoop, day 3. Oh, I just have to do this. T1 ID. See if that'll work. Yes, it will. So now if I do describe address, so now I can see where I have that primary key. I could probably go back. I think then I can go back and alter it and make it that, but I'm not going to mess with that right now. Because what I can do, what I could do then is I can do tables. And so if I do drop table tutorial 1, oh, it's because of the parent. So I have to deal with parent first. So now I'm going to do create table, call it app user as select star from tutorial parent. Truncate tutorial, actually, truncate tutorial 1. Helps to do that. Now, if I try to drop table tutorial 1, can't. Let's go ahead and empty both of those. Let's see, tutorial 1, it's tutorial parent. Oh. Now, there we go. Takes a few minutes to walk through all of those. That's why the constraints can be a bit of a pain, but they are also useful to us. Stop saying shows. I don't know why I keep using S's all over the place. And so now we have slightly different looking tables, and we're sort of cleaned up our names a little bit. And we can come back later and add in, adjust all of our constraints. That I will deal with at a later point, because right now I want to jump into, so now we've got a couple tables we can work from. And now I want to do a way to get a little more complicated in our queries. So this one, let's start with select star from stats. And so, So start with something like that. But what I can also do is I can interjoin with other tables or with other queries. Now I can do it with itself. So I could do stats. I'm going to do S1. Interjoin stats S2 on, what was that? S1.stat ID equals S2.stat ID. And so if I do this, I'm just going to see the table twice, or the fields twice. So I can see here stat ID. So this is table 1. This is table 2. This becomes a little more interesting. Yeah, this is not terribly interesting, but what we can do is we can say, instead of stats 2 being that, now we can change it. Let's say we're going to select star from stats, and let's do this. Actually, we don't need to. Yeah, so let's do this. We're going to do select star from stats. Can I do that? No, I don't want to do that. I want to do this. I want to do, let's do stat ID, comma, max. Let's pick a max that we want to do. Let's see, max value 1. as mx value from stats. And then what I want to do is group by value let's see. Oh, wait, I want to group by value 1. And let's do max value 2. So let's look at that first. So when we do this, what we're doing is we're going to say, and we've seen this before, so max value 495 here for a value 1. Whereas value 2, it's going to be 595, which we see. And here, it's 795. Now, for 3. But if you look over here, that stat ID is just picking one. Stat ID of 1 is not the max value. Stat ID 2 is not the max value. So what we would have to do, if we want to get the ID where the value is the max, we actually have to come in here, and actually we can do it from here, is we can do select star from stats where, what is that, value 2 equals, or where value 2, let's say in, we're going to do this, we're going to do a little inner select here. And we're just going to call them as value 2. Let's see. And how is that going to look? Let's see. Select stats. Start from stats where value 2 in. Select max value as value 2 from stats. Group by value 1. All right. Let's go look at that guy real quick. Oh. Let's do this. Okay, so that's that guy. So now what I want to do, let's do this. Oh, where stats.value 2 in that. Let's see if we can do that. This may not like it because I'm going a little bit stats where stats.value 2. Oh, let's try this. My mistake. And there we go. So now we're seeing that we have the actual stat ID. So what we can do here is we'll take that and we'll place it up here. Well, I guess we can, and so we did it this way instead of an inner join, but we can also take that same one, which is a complex query, is we can do here. And now we get this. Oh, and now we're getting both of them. We get our S1 and we get our S2. We get our duplicate again. So we can do some pretty complicated inner selects. And that's what we're going to continue talking about next time. I don't want to run too late this time around. I got a little sidetracked on a couple of things, but we'll come back and we're going to continue looking into these. But as always, go out there and have yourself a great day, a great week, and we will talk to you next time.